I have people friends of mine that haven't worked for 3 years. And I think a lot of it really transpired with COVID and remote editorial, that then sort of led the studios to recognize they didn't need people on site to do the work and get the job done. And I think in the short range, the editorial community really loved the flexibility of working from home. But I think what no one really put together was, now that you could be remote, you could chase lowest cost of production across the planet. And with the world being flat, there's some significant rates of dollar employment in Australia, in England, in Romania, in Bulgaria, and labor is shifting. We had a client of ours, very large head of post for a studio, say, we run the numbers. We were going to post in Latvia yesterday, and today it's Vietnam. And that's frightening to this wonderful ecosystem that we created called Hollywood.
From a technical point of view, where do you see AI fitting in?
I had a meeting with a very large corporation last night, and they had attorneys, they had IT, they had production. And their opinion is the more they can use AI to do their production to save costs, the more they want to do. But at the same time, they're really balancing off AI creation, how they protect their own IP, and how they lower their costs. And they're very focused about it. Lowering costs, higher quality content, less people doing the work.
But it seems to be an oxymoron. How can you get higher quality with fewer people? Or is that just a mindset in the finance side?
Well, from my perspective, you can have, and there's a technology that we're pretty enamored with called Quickture. And Quickture basically takes all of the audio, uploads it to the cloud, MP4, MP3, and you have the metadata between Adobe or Media Composer, and you can effectively chat GPT what you'd like in a cut. And it creates, it's a jump cut. It's not a craft. It's not what a human can do, but it's not a bad rough cut. And for those, and everyone's using ChatGPT or one of the different AI systems out there just to help write. And it now is doing this from an editorial level. So I can do a cut that gives me a first rough cut that's focused maybe on my western part of my corporation that I want to communicate about our West Coast presence and the values we bring to the market. But at the same time say, now I want that same one to be based around Chicago. And it will grab everything that was referencing Chicago or people that we tagged that were based in Chicago, and it will insert them into a cut. I can then say, add a joke in the middle of the video to make people laugh. And literally, it pulls all of that footage into the timeline on Adobe Premiere or Avid Media Composer. So your productive editors can now get more work done because a lot of the basics that would have been the pipeline of talent becoming an assistant editor to an editor, where the assistants did a lot of that work, a lot of it now can be done, unfortunately, by AI.
You're not cheering me up here, but it seems like there's a lot of pressure for AI to replace jobs as opposed to enhance jobs. Now, there are tools where an AI will make a particular job, say masking or rotoscoping, easier. But it seems like the studios, or let me rephrase that, traditional media, however that is broadly defined, broadcast studios, is looking at AI as replacing staff as opposed to enhancing staff. Is that a true statement, or am I misunderstanding?
I would say it's very accurate. Studios have spoken, verbally, to motion picture trailer companies, and have said, we would like temp dubs sounding like the star of the movie where we don't want to bring them in yet. But the temp dubs are now to the level that they can be, as you well know, when Michael Kamas did the Michael Horton at the LA Post-Production Group, you can basically create your voice saying anything you want to have said. And right now there's a lot of both IP and just legal contracts around limiting it, but at the same time, their ability, and right now one of it is the ability to do multi-region sourcing. So you can do one major movie, and then imagine being able to have that dubbed with your voice and your lips moving in the right area for 30 different dialects and languages. It's happening that fast.
Wow. One of the other trends that I'm hearing about, and I can't remember the word, it's called repatriation. We're repatriating data from the cloud back to the local premise for security reasons, for cost reasons. Are you seeing that as an isolated example, or is that a trend?
I would say it's a trend. And really, when you look at it, and everything, my background is economics business. I have an MBA, and I try to really view technological disruption as what does it mean from the business model? Because at the end of the day, someone has to have a payback and an ROI model. And I think what happened was, especially COVID accelerated it, was CEOs and CFOs moved all of their marketing, their phone systems, their ERPs to the cloud, and had a lot of success doing that. But the level of compute and the level of storage was relatively small. But at the same time, we started having clients saying to us, our CFO wants everything in the cloud. And we said, we can do that. You may not be happy with how much it costs. And, for an example, LucidLink, which has been wildly successful and, probably the easiest and fastest way to start up a production, and having shared storage with multiple editors able to work on Adobe, and you can spin up a production almost instantly. But you're spending $80 per terabyte that you have in the cloud. So if you look and say, we're going to have 100 terabytes in the cloud, that is effectively $96,000 a year. While you flip that around, you can buy 384 terabyte Facilis or SNS for $72,000. So you're getting more than 3x the amount of storage at less than 1 year's usage cost of using that technology in the cloud. So the issue with the cloud really becomes is compute is still expensive, storage is expensive, and extracting your data out of the cloud is also expensive.
One of the things you've said is the word we, which gives me a chance to talk about KeyCode. KeyCode is a company that does what?
We effectively consult clients in terms of acquiring equipment, acquiring training, professional services, and aftermarket support. And that is on-prem, hybrid, or cloud.
Can you install as well?
Absolutely. We full installation. We have low voltage wiring contracts in multiple states. We create CAD/CAM drawings, full run links, and really work with our clients to develop a footprint of a complete production and a workflow documentation. So if the cloud is part of it, what's that? Creating standards for archive of what they want to pay for. Is 321 acceptable, or do they want a lesser level type thing? But we come in and really try to look at our clients' needs and provide them the alternatives between multiple vendors for price and performance that fits their needs that we can support.
One of the things that you mentioned I want to come back to, which is remote production, most importantly, remote post. As a client is deciding whether to do remote post, what questions do they need to ask?
A lot of it comes down to where the remote editors are, what the bandwidth connectivity they have, security issues, amount of people, amount of storage, and understand the math, whether they want to set up a Jump or Teradici, or even now their technologies like Facilis has a fast cache product that effectively caches all the media in a semi-encrypted level to the remote editor. So there's a lot of tools out there that people are looking at, and it's really our goal is to have, smart people on my staff to find the coolest technologies. I run the numbers, and then we map it together in a matrix and allow clients to have alternatives that are easily digestible, that they can make a decision what's best for them.
The very first question you answered was how much disruption is going on in media today. For those of us that are trying to earn a living in media, how do we future-proof our thinking? What do we need to do to get ready for whatever's coming next?
Expand your influence, meet more people, be more active on LinkedIn, be more active on YouTube, communicating what work you do, and not be as focused of just saying, I want to work on Hollywood. Clients, social media influencers now, one of the largest, in fact, the largest YouTube social media influencer, he has a bigger SSD SAN than any of the studios, over 2 petabytes of SSD SAN performance, because they needed to run 99 cameras uncompressed in Adobe Premiere, and they didn't have the time to do an offline-online workflow.
Mike, how should media people approach the future? Because it's certainly one which is unsettling.
Be very aware of what you cost and what you can deliver. And being able to communicate how you can make organizations more money derivative of your creativity, your productivity, your analysis of technology, and how well you can use it, that becomes an asset to that organization. And what a lot of media editors really get caught up on the creative side, and they stop thinking about all the things that allow them to be creative and what they've learned that they take for granted, that outside of the media space is highly valued to corporations, education, government, social media influencers, and everybody really could leverage those skills, and they're willing to pay for it.
It's always a delight talking to you. Mike, thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure, Larry. You're the best. Thank you.